is Cali in Colombia. Cali, located in southwestern Colombia, is one of those spots you might want to think twice about visiting, because it's got some serious problems with violence and crime. You've got stuff like substance trafficking, human trafficking, and all kinds of gangs running the show up there. And get this, the law enforcement folks often can't keep up with all the crime and corruption happening in the area. Now, it's not just about where you're from or how good your Spanish is. Whether you're a longtime resident, a backpacker, or even a member of a famous band, safety is a huge issue here. Armed robberies are way too common, making it a dangerous place to be. People often fall victims to things like muggings, assaults, and credit card theft. And some seriously awful things happen when victims try to resist robberies. So yeah, it's best to stay informed and cautious when you're in these parts of South America. At number 4 is the Salar de Uyuni in Bolivia. Definitely butchered that too. The biggest salt flat in the world. It's like stepping onto another planet, like the one from the Star Wars franchise. Imagine this vast expanse stretching endlessly with bright white salt as far as your eyes can see. It's a surreal sight. Now, why is it off limits to solar adventurers? Well, picture trying to navigate through what seems like an infinite stretch of pure white. It's not just about getting lost in the terrain, you guys. This isn't your average stroll in the park. The surface might look smooth, but there are hidden dangers like soft spots where your vehicle might sink or salt mounds that could throw you off your track. This barren salt flat means that there are no defined roads or landmarks. It's like a blank canvas just waiting to confuse you. You could be driving around for hours with the only thing changing in your environment is the time of day. So yeah, it's definitely not a stroll you can take lightly. Better to explore this mesmerizing wonderland with somebody who knows the ropes or through organized tours. At number 3 is Iquitos in Peru. Deep in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, you've got this city that's like an island in the middle of a jungle. It's not your typical city with roads leading in and out. No, you arrive here by either boat or plane. Now the thing about Iquitos is that it's a gateway to some seriously wild parts of the Amazon that are straight up off limits. As you venture out from Iquitos, it's like stepping into this maze of green, dense, untamed jungle that goes on and on. But here's the kicker. Not all of it is open for exploration. There are chunks of this terrain that are a no-go zone because imagine this dense foliage where paths disappear quicker than you could say adventure. You've got wildlife that's both beautiful and, let's just say, not the most welcoming if you stumble into their territory. And then there's the whole uncharted thing. It's like wandering off without a map in a place that's huge and mysterious, and you're definitely not gonna find your way back. So while Iquitos may seem like the starting point for a grand jungle adventure, some parts around here are best left untouched. At number 2 is the Madidi National Park in Bolivia. Picture this place as a biodiversity hotspot, like a treasure trove of nature's wonders, packed with dense rainforests and a parade of diversity life. But a lot of these areas here are off limits, not because they're hiding secret societies or anything like that, as far as we know, but for a really cool reason. Conservation. Imagine wandering into a rainforest where jaguars prowl like they own the place and monkeys swinging from tree to tree. That's just a snippet of what you would find here. But to keep this natural wonderland intact, some parts of the park are a no-go zone for curious adventurers. They've got these zones marked out to let the critters and plants do their thing without our meddling. And at number 1 is La Isla de Queimada Grande, also known as Snake Island in Brazil. Off the southern coast of Brazil sits an island nobody dares to visit. It's called the Snake Island, and it's off limits for a pretty good reason, if you could tell by the name. Legend has it that once a fisherman who went too close to this island was later found unalived in his boat, surrounded and covered in bodily fluids. This place is like a snake paradise, but not the good kinds of snakes. It's home to the golden lance head pit vipers, some of the most lethal snakes out there. Brazil made it illegal to visit this island because these vipers mean serious business. These snakes are special. They've evolved in isolation. They're even more lethal than their mainland cousins because they've only had birds to prey on, so their venom is extra strong to quickly take out entire birds. Bite from one of these guys could take you out in an hour. Now nobody knows the exact number of snakes here, but it's a lot. Local legends say that pirates or rising sea levels brought them, but the truth is that sea levels rose thousands of years ago, isolating the island and letting these snakes evolve differently. Now despite the danger, some folks want the snake venom for medicine, as the venom has shown potential in alleviating heart conditions, which has led to something of a black market demand for the venom. For some lawbreakers, financial allure is incentive enough to risk their own lives on this island.
With Gankar Puensu. This is the highest unclimbed mountain in the entire world. It's 24,836 feet tall, almost the size of Everest. It's in that ballpark. Its name translates to White Peak of the Three Spiritual Brothers. Now, there have been attempted climbs of this mountain, but none were ever successful, and there probably never will be any successful climbs of the highest peak, because in 1994, climbing of any mountain above 20,000 feet in Bhutan was banned due to the locals viewing these peaks as sacred. And then in 2003, mountaineering was banned in the country altogether. In 1998, a Japanese team of climbers attempted to ascend the mountain anyway, receiving permission from the Chinese Mountaineering Association because part of it extends across the Chinese border. But there was an uproar in Bhutan and their permit was revoked. So who knows what the view is like from all the way up there. At nearly 25,000 feet, it must be pretty spectacular.
Okay, my friends, next up, have you heard of Heard Island? How about the McDonald Islands? Well, if you have heard of them, I can guarantee you've never been. Why? Because they're banned, restricted, off limits. They have frickin' sharks with frickin' lasers. No, I'm just kidding. The islands are in fact not inhabited by Dr. Evil. Actually, they're not inhabited by anyone. This is because not only are the Australian islands barren, covered in ice, and incredibly remote, a 2-week sail to the closest major landmass, the islands are also home to Australia's only active volcanoes. Sporadic eruptions on Heard Island began in 1910, and in 1992, the submarine volcanoes of McDonald's Islands followed suit. While there hasn't been an eruption on either island in the last 12 years, consistent thermal activity and lava flow continue to be monitored via satellite. And the data concluded that 1, the volcanoes on the island continue to be a risk to the safety of living beings, and 2, you should 100% stay the hell away from these islands. And that's science, baby.
Next up, we have a large pit said to be a gateway to hell. Huska Castle's chapel was built over this hole in the Czech Republic in order to keep demonic entities from climbing out of its depths. Before the castle was built, locals would tell stories of winged creatures crawling out from the pit and terrorizing people in the night. No one would ever dare going down to explore that pit. Aside from all the stories of demons crawling out of it, it was too deep to explore anyway. So in order to seal these demonic entities in, Huska Castle was built at some point in the 1200s, with the chapel built right over the gateway to hell, being the only place powerful enough to repel the hellish creatures below. Now, this story might sound pretty unbelievable, but whether or not you believe in demonic winged monsters or a genuine gateway to hell in the ground, it certainly seems like the people of the time believed in these stories, because this castle stands in a very odd location. Most castles were built in places that were advantageous in some way, but there were no trade routes close to Huska Castle, and it was built in a swampy forested area. It was also built without a kitchen or a source of water. Very strange. So it seems as if it was erected for one very specific purpose: sealing a gateway to hell.
Next up, we have Krubra or Voronya Cave in Georgia, the world's deepest cave with a depth of 2,140 meters, that is 7,020 feet. Before you annihilate me in the comments because your mom's uncle's cousin actually went there once, I get it. People have been to the cave. In fact, they've been in the cave and they've licked the cave and they've done whatever the heck else in there too. Well, here's the thing. I'm not talking about the main cave. I'm talking about the part that you can't go because no one's gone and it's restricted. Read the title. Considering the fact that Voronya is the deepest cave on Earth, it probably comes as no surprise that a lot of the underground system remains unexplored, and for good reason too. It's incredibly dangerous. The terrain is steep and wet, and the bottom of the cave is a basin filled with water, meaning it's also filled with no-go unmapped zones as well. Fair enough, considering even the accessible zones are restricted to advanced climbers only, and even still, in August of 2021, a Russian man named Sergei Koziv was found dead inside the cave. It appears as though he slipped during his descent. He was found dangling from his rope more than 915 meters, 3,100 feet deep into the cave.
Next on the list we have Mars. Now, humans haven't set foot on any planet other than Earth, but Mars is relatively close to us, you know, in the grand scheme of things, and we've gotten rovers and stuff on there, so there's a bit more to discuss when it comes to the red planet. Now, this place is completely uninhabitable, at least without highly advanced technology. We'd need some sort of protection against the high levels of radiation. We'd need some way of having breathable air, most likely some kind of dome-like structure. A manned mission to Mars would take about 6 to 9 months, but who knows when we'll actually get to see that happen. Traveling out in space for for that long. It's obviously quite a risk. It's one thing if something goes wrong on the way to the moon, but imagine being 6 months out into space and running into an issue. That is pretty terrifying. And we don't even know if there's aliens on Mars. I mean, it doesn't look like it, but they could be like hiding underground or something.
Okay, next up we have the bottom of the Drake Passage. I mean, considering how dangerous this place is at sea level, it's really no surprise it ended up on this list. As of right now, not only has no one been approved to explore the depths of the Drake Passage, even if they were, I highly doubt they would be able to. Why? Because it's super dangerous. I mean, forget the fact that the skies above the waters are infested with massive giant petrels that have been known to peck out sailors' eyes, and that the waters are filled with aggressive leopard and elephant seals and colossal squids and sleeper sharks, right? Forget that. And forget that there's been over 800 shipwrecks in the area, that it's littered with massive icebergs, and that the passage often faces hurricane-forced winds, whipping rains, and waves of up to 65 feet. Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. We can't forget that, because if we did, we would die. While I am sure the waters beneath the surface of the Drake are full of amazing, incredible, unknown sea life, maybe even frickin' sharks with frickin' lasers, I understand that for now, exploring the depths of the area is just not something we are able or allowed to do, but a girl can dream.
Next on the list are the stairs to nowhere. So in recent years, stories about eerie sets of stairs appearing in the middle of forests have started popping up, especially in American national parks like Yosemite. And nobody knows where these stairs come from. Park rangers have come out sharing strange stories about starting new jobs and being told by other park rangers to avoid these stairs at all costs, and most certainly not to climb them. It's been said that these stairs don't just lead to nowhere, they lead to a more horrific kind of nowhere. It's said that people have gone missing after ascending these mysterious sets of stairs, never to be seen again. As to where they go, some believe these stairs are gateways to alternate realities or dimensions, but no one knows for sure. The only people who have gone to wherever these stairs lead have never returned to tell about it. So basically what I'm saying is, next time you're hiking through the woods and come across a set of out-of-place stairs leading up to nothing, climb up there. I want to find out what's up there, see if you can see what's up, and and if you get whisked away to Narnia or something, just try and get a message back down to us.
Next up we have the tomb of Qin Shi Huang. Modern day, because I am well aware that humans had to go inside the elaborate tomb to build it. But since then, the tomb has somehow become filled with dangerous levels of mercury, meaning that in modern times it is restricted and not one human alive today has stepped foot inside. And for good reason, other than the 100% chance of mercury poisoning, that is. It is believed that the tomb containing 8,000 life-size terracotta soldiers is also highly booby-trapped, meaning that there is potential danger at every turn. And if that's not enough, the tomb is also supposedly protected by a deadly curse. The curse of the terracotta soldiers, which came true for a group of 7 men who discovered the soldiers in 1974 while digging a well for their town. Not only was their town destroyed, but 3 of them died and the others became impoverished and watched their families suffer. And if that's not enough, the structure of the tomb is also believed to be incredibly unstable, kind of like your last relationship, meaning that any attempt to open it could very well lead to its crumbling demise. Best to avoid this one.
Right, when we think of unexplored parts of our planet, it's often the ocean that comes to mind first, and we're certainly not wrong to think that. About 95% of our ocean is unexplored. But there's also plenty of land we haven't set foot on either. The Northern Triangle subtropical forests are a vast expanse of greenery, stretching across Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador. They're teeming with diverse flora and fauna, but these forests are mostly unexplored. These forests are like the Amazon's lesser-known cousin. We often hear about the Amazon's wonders, but the Northern Triangle forests are mostly under the radar. So who knows what kinds of unknown secrets are in these forests? There could be rare species of plants or animals lurking in the depths. Scientists reckon there's this gold mine of undiscovered life forms waiting to be found. But these forests are also inherently dangerous for that exact reason. Bigfoot. I think there's Bigfoots out there.
And to finish off our list today, we have the New Hebrides Trench located in the Pacific Ocean. Now, unlike the Drake Passage, some of the waters of this trench have actually been explored. By robots, that is. Not humans, which shouldn't come as a shock to anyone considering the fact that the trench is more than 7,000 meters deep, 23,000 feet. The robots were sent down with cameras and bait and were able to capture some amazing images and videos showcasing the diversity, or lack of diversity, of sea life on the ocean floor. Amongst the animals seen during the robotic expedition, there were arrowroot eels, cusk eels, prawns, and crustaceans. Samples of many of these animals were successfully obtained and brought to the surface as well. But what really surprised scientists was the absence of other animals usually seen at these kinds of depths. They believe the sparsity and diversity in the area might have something to do with climate change or, frickin' sharks with frickin' lasers.
10. Morgan Island, aka Monkey Island. Morgan Island, also known as Monkey Island, is located in Beaufort County, South Carolina. Historically, the island has been uninhabited due to its location and distance from the mainland. But in 1979, it was established as a home for a colony of free-range rhesus monkeys, hence the name Monkey Island. Originally, the monkey colony was located at the Caribbean Primate Research Center in La Peguera, Puerto Rico. But according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there were incidents of the free-ranging monkeys escaping, carrying viral herpes B infections, which led to outbreaks in the local population. Puerto Rico needed help, and South Carolina stepped in to offer an uninhabited island for research. In 1979 and 1980, over 1,400 animals were relocated to Morgan Island. The monkeys are used for public health research by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The risk they carry with having diseases is the reason why it isn't safe for any human to come in contact with them. It's said that there are more than 3,500 monkeys and that it's such a safety issue that they are fed through an automated machine. Now, some humans have entered the island, only if necessary, and after their visit to the island, they are quarantined to prevent spread of any diseases. Number 9. ADX Florence, Colorado. ADX Florence is an American federal prison near Florence, Colorado. So yes, humans can be there, but just hear me out. It's operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, a division of the United States Department of Justice. It opened in 1994 and is classed as a supermax or control unit prison, referring to its extremely high levels of security, as it has a more controlled level of custody than a maximum security prison. ADX Florence was commissioned when the Federal Bureau of Prisons needed a unit designed specifically for the secure housing of those prisoners most capable of extreme violence towards staff or other inmates. As of August 2022, there were a total of 341 inmates housed. They are confined for 23 hours per day in single cells with facilities made of poured reinforced concrete to deter self-harm and are under 24-hour supervision, carried out intensely with high staff-inmate ratios. Now, during their hour outside the cell, which can occur at any time, day or night, they are kept under restraint, handcuffed, shackled, or both. The hour outside the cell is for exercise and a phone call if they have earned the privilege. Their diet is restricted to ensure that the food cannot be used to harm themselves or create unhygienic conditions in their cell. Some cells even have showers, which further reduces the amount of handling of inmates that correctional officers have to perform. In fact, it's such a secure facility that very few images of it exist. Now, the prisoners are allowed visitors, but only up to 5 times a month, and these visitations can be taken away. Number 8. Hart Island, New York. Hart Island is located in the Bronx, New York, and is a 1-mile long strip of land in the Long Island Sound that has served many functions over the centuries. The island's first public use was a training ground for the United States Colored Troops in 1864. Since then, Hart Island has been the location of a Union Civil War prison camp, a psychiatric institution, a tuberculosis sanatorium, a potter's field with mass burials, a homeless shelter, a boys' reformatory, a jail, a drug rehabilitation center, and a cemetery. Today, you can go to the island, but it's very difficult. Hart Island is only open 1 weekend each month for families to visit grave sites, and that is all. Besides, with all the dark history, I don't think anyone would want to go there if they could. Number 7. North Brother Island. North Brother Island is a small island located in New York City East River between the mainland Bronx and Rikers Island. Now, not only is this island forbidden, it's also hidden, overrun by weeds, and unsafe for the public, plus its sensitive ecosystem is much safer without visitors. This dystopian-looking island was abandoned 50 years ago, but prior to that, in the mid-19th century, North Brother Island was filled with people. At this time in history, disease and illnesses were rampant in New York, and this isolated island was a perfect location for the sick to be quarantined. In the mid-1880s, the Riverside Hospital moved there from Blackwell's Island, now known as Roosevelt Island. Riverside Hospital had been founded in the 1850s as the smallpox hospital to treat and isolate victims of that disease. Its mission eventually expanded to other quarantinable diseases, initially typhoid and then smallpox and tuberculosis. During the polio epidemic in 1916, Riverside treated numerous patients. The island was also the site of the wreck of the General Soklom, a steamship that burned on June 15, 1904, where 1,021 people died, either from the fire on board the ship or from drowning before the ship beached on the island shores. Safe to say this island has seen a lot of horrors, so much that it has been nicknamed Hell's Gate for its dangerous waters and is rightfully off limits. Now, if some place is called Hell's Gate, I would not want to go there anyway, and you shouldn't either. Number 6. Mount Weather. If the world is ending, I want to go here. Mount Weather is a facility located in Bluemont, Virginia that is controlled by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This facility, used to support emergency management operations, is located on a 434-acre site and is run by 240 employees. Mount Weather Emergency Operations Center has important communication links with the White House and reportedly includes an underground bunker with its own hospital, crematorium, and emergency power plant. Today, Mount Weather is home to 6 major disaster operation facilities and remains off limits to civilians. It's considered the safest spot in the world, and in the event of a nuclear war or zombie apocalypse, US government officials will be gathered and sent there. It was built during the Cold War, and this facility is designed to protect people and national treasures from the event of global destruction.
And in our number 1 spot today, we have Russia's nuclear missile facility. In the Ural Mountains in Russia, there's a top secret town that no one is allowed to visit. This is because this is the place that Russia does their nuclear missile testing. As a result, no one is allowed to go in or even near the vicinity. Again, why would you even want to go anyways? That place is probably incredibly radioactive. It's also believed that around the area, the Russians have a secret bunker complex for the government and or the Russian armed forces. Downtown we have Pravčiška Brana. Located in the Czech Republic, this is a narrow rock formation and popular tourist attraction. However, the arch has been severely weakened over time due to erosion. Now visitors are no longer allowed to get on top of the arch. You're allowed to go and look at it, but only from afar. They're afraid that the arch will collapse with tourists on it, resulting in a number of casualties. As a result, it's prohibited to go on or near it. In fact, they believe that the arch might collapse very soon. So if you've always wanted to see it, go make a trip now before it's too late. In our 9th spot, we have McDonald's Island, Australia. This is an uninhabited island located in the southern Indian Ocean, and it belongs to Australia. In fact, this island and Heard Island are said to be one of the remotest places on Earth. That's one of the reasons why no one wants to go there. The other reason is that it's part of the IUCN's strict nature reserve. In order to keep the animals on the island safe, the island is closed to any outsiders. The only people allowed to visit the island are researchers, and even they aren't allowed to stay for too long, and they have to follow strict protocols so that they don't disturb the living conditions on the island. In our 8th spot, we have Maya Bay. Located in Thailand, this is another area that visitors are banned from as an attempt to restore the environment there. Basically, in 2000, the movie The Beach, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, was released. And since it was filmed in Maya Bay, the area was soon flooded with tourists. Millions of people visited the site per year. Sadly, the ecosystem greatly suffered from this. So in June of 2018, Thailand closed down the area to help the ecosystem. It remained closed until I believe this year, January. But if the environment is put at risk again, it might be shut down once again. Coming in at number 7, we have Woomera, Australia. This is a military and aerospace center and test range located in South Australia. This area is run by the Royal Australian Air Force, and it's so big that it's roughly the size of North Korea or Pennsylvania. Now, this area is strictly guarded by the Royal Australian Air Force. All we need is for someone to break in and get in the way of weapons testing. That would not be good for anyone. Like I previously mentioned, they own the airspace above, so anyone that tries to fly by or even flies too close to their area will be targeted. And I hope they leave fast enough before facing the consequences. Coming in at number 6 today, we have Plymouth. This area is often referred to as the Pompeii of the Caribbean. Why? Well, in 1996, a volcano erupted, causing a mass evacuation. A few months later, some residents returned, but were welcomed with another eruption. On June 25th, 1997, this eruption killed 19 residents, and it destroyed the island's airport, trapping many others from fleeing. Eventually, this area was evacuated again, but this time, no one wanted to return. Everything was destroyed. In fact, 80% of the town is currently covered in ash. Pictures show homes completely buried with only their roofs sticking out. So now, it's a ghost town. Now, there are some people allowed to visit the island, but the main area of Plymouth are restricted for, obvious safety reasons. Plus, there is a chance that the volcano might erupt again, and no one wants to be near it when that happens.
At number 5 is the Bielitz-Heilstatten Hospital in Germany, folks. This is a place where history and horror truly converge. This hospital's got a sinister past that'll send shivers down your spine. It's not just a spooky building, it's practically an encyclopedia of nightmares. It played host to tuberculosis patients, and if that's not eerie enough, it also tended to mustard gas and machine pew-pew victims during World War I, even harboring the infamous the bad guy. Fast forward to World War II, and it was the go-to spot for fascist soldiers' medical needs. Post-World War II, the Soviets took over, using it as a military hospital until the Berlin Wall fell. Now, only a few wards are in use, but the rest, well, they're slowly being reclaimed by nature and vandals. Walk through those abandoned surgery and psychiatric wards and you'd think you're on a set of American Horror Story Asylum. At number 4 is Power Plant IM in Charleroi, Belgium, which might pique your curiosity as it's an abandoned industrial marvel, but it's on our list of top 10 places to steer clear of for a reason. Built back in 21, that being 100 years ago, not 2. This mammoth coal-burning facility boasted a colossal cooling tower capable of chilling 480,000 gallons of water every minute during its prime. However, its energy production came at a significant environmental cost, contributing to a staggering 10% of Belgium's carbon dioxide emissions. Greenpeace took notice and successfully lobbied for its closure in 2007. While the towering remnants of the power plant IM offer an eerie, picturesque backdrop, stepping inside is a risky proposition. The abandoned structures hide potential hazards, including structural instability and toxic remnants. This isn't a journey for the faint of heart, but rather an ill-advised attempt to explore a place where safety takes a backseat. So if you're after adventure, there are certainly safer destinations to satiate your curiosity about abandoned locations. At number 3 is Kennecott, Alaska, a once bustling mining town witnessed a flourishing copper industry worth a jaw-dropping $200 million from 1911 to 1938. That's like all kinds of billions now. It was a complete package. They had their own hospital, a skating rink, a tennis court, and even a dairy. But the years have not been kind to this place. Most of the buildings have been left to rot over 6 decades. It's a hauntingly beautiful ghost town, a snapshot of the past's glory. The National Park Service swooped in, taking control of the many structures and lands in 1998. Today you can visit the visitor center between Memorial Day and Labor Day, and if you want a unique event venue, the Recreation Hall is actually up for rent. I wouldn't. At number 2, Lake Reshen Bell Tower in Italy, a mysterious relic of the past emerging from the depths of Regency, a product of human intervention. The eerie beauty of this 14th century tower jutting out of the water gives off a surreal, otherworldly vibe. It's a bit like something you'd find in a fairy tale, but trust me, you're not gonna be in a Disney movie here. What makes it even more intriguing is the history behind it. See, beneath the calm waters lie the remains of a submerged village intentionally sacrificed to build the dam. Their stories, hidden beneath the surface, offer a haunting reminder of the past. Though it may seem like an inviting adventure, don't be too hasty. The lake might freeze in the winter, allowing you to walk right up to the tower, but there are some dangers in doing that, obviously. At number 1, Nicosia International Airport in Cyprus. It's a real hunting place, and it's got a history that's both fascinating and eerie. Back in the day when it was a bustling airport, a place where people were coming and going, embarking on exciting journeys. But then, in 74, the Turkish invasion of Cyprus happened and the whole landscape changed. The airport was abandoned, and what's left now is like a time capsule that's been untouched for nearly 50 years. The planes that once soared through the skies are there, but they've turned into rusty relics of aviation history, just sitting out in the open, exposed to the elements. It's like something out of a post-apocalyptic movie where the world has moved on, but this place is stuck in time. But that's not all. Inside the terminal, the check-in counters and boarding areas have all gathered thick layers of dust and occasional bird droppings. It's like a scene from a long-forgotten era. Exploring this airport may sound cool, but honestly, it's a journey that's just best left to the imagination and the history books and the YouTube videos. Is Carcasas in Venezuela. This place is like a hotbed for some seriously dangerous gang activities. These aren't your regular street groups. We're talking about basically militias armed to the teeth with heavy weapons like all kinds of firearms. These guys are basically their own military force. The units in Carcasas have more firepower than the actual police. They basically control entire neighborhoods, and the people living there are pretty much scared for their safety all the time. Carcasas has one of the highest crime rates in the world with nearly 41 homicides per 100,000 people. Now, one of the big shots in this chaos is a guy named El Koki. He's a big deal in these parts. His group controlled huge neighborhoods until a while back. Now, the thing is, he's different from other leaders. He's never been to jail, he runs it from outside of prison walls, and he already lived most and longer in his line of work. The government tried to make things simpler with things called peace zones, which essentially told these groups to stop doing crimes and we'll leave you alone. But guess what? Instead of calming down, they just used that time to gather even more weapons and grow even stronger, turning into a huge mess that made these mega gangs even scarier. So while this place isn't technically banned from the public, anyone who fears for their life should definitely steer clear of this city. And number 9 is Colonia Dignidad in Chile. Colonia Dignidad was like this eerie, self-contained mini society nestled in Chile's countryside. Founded by Paul Schaffner, a former official from the fascist group from World War II, you know the one. This place seemed like a utopia from the outside with lush gardens, schools, and a hospital, but inside was total nightmare fuel. There were tales of this dude's iron-fisted rule, brainwashing, manipulation, and all sorts of creepy mind games. Cut from the rest of the world, living in this controlled environment, people spoke in whispers about the severe trauma that went on behind the closed doors. Physical, psychological, you name it. But it gets even darker. Colonia Dignidad wasn't just about its weird internal rules. It had ties to the Chilean military dictatorship in the 70s and 80s. Rumors swirled around them being involved in all kinds of horrible things and serving as a secluded base for clandestine operations. The Chilean government eventually stepped in during the 90s and investigations were launched. It got its name changed to Villa Bavaria, trying to erase that haunting past, but the stigma remained. Even to this day, it's closed off, with the remnants of a sinister past and ongoing investigations shrouding it in a shiver-inducing mystery. If you're enjoying this video so far, please support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 is the Cueva de los Tallos in Ecuador. This isn't your average cave. Legend has it that this cave holds some serious secrets, mysterious metallic objects that are a little bit reminiscent of extraterrestrial technology. There are whispers that these items might be ancient artifacts left behind by a lost civilization. Some say they may hold mystical powers or knowledge beyond our understanding, maybe even relics from a highly advanced ancient society. But here's where things get fascinating. The indigenous tribes in the area have their own spin on these tales. For them, the cave and its treasures are intertwined with their folklore. Some legends talk about the cave as a gateway to the underworld, or a place where spirits dwell. The metallic objects might be seen as gifts from their god or remnants of ancient heroes. But inside this cave is like navigating a maze while blindfolded, as the passages are labyrinth-like. You take one wrong turn and you might as well be lost in a puzzle. But it's not just about the twists and turns. Indigenous folks around these parts believe the cave is off limits for a reason. For them, it's a sacred place tied to their culture and beliefs. So it's not just about respecting the maze, it's also about honoring their traditions. The mystery behind this cave remains intact because access is tightly controlled, and rightly so. Who knows what secrets might still be hiding in those winding tunnels? We may never know. At number 7 is the Javari Valley in Brazil. These tribes in the Javari Valley are like living time capsules, preserving traditions that go way back. Their cultures are a fascinating mix of ancient customs, rituals, and ways of living that have passed down through generations. Their daily lives revolve around what the land provides, as they're masters of survival in the jungle, hunting, fishing, and gathering fruits and plants to meet their needs. So the Javari Valley is where you'll find these groups of indigenous people who've chosen to stay completely isolated from the outside world. So no smartphones, no internet, just their own way of life that's been going on for centuries. Now, why the lockdown from the outside population, you ask? Well, these tribes haven't had much much contact with the modern world, and you know how it goes. Introducing them to our world could expose them to diseases they've never encountered before. They might not have immunity to fight off a common cold, let alone something stronger. So to protect them and their traditions, the Brazilian government has put in strict rules, making it a no-go zone for outsiders. It's all about preserving their way of life and letting them thrive without interference. At number 6 is the Cerro Sarisariama in Venezuela. I'm sorry, I totally butchered that. This place is like a real-life alien landscape straight out of a sci-fi movie. What makes it special is those big old sinkholes called sima, which are like deep craters that look like as if a chunk of the earth just vanished. These sinkholes are enormous, like giant natural wells, some reaching over 350 meters in diameter and dropping a dizzying 300 meters. But these sinkholes are off limits, because down there, it's a whole different world, a home to unique life forms that adapted to this bizarre environment. The delicate balance of this ecosystem, completely isolated from the world above, needs protecting. So scientists and explorers aren't allowed to roam freely to keep these fascinating sinkholes safe and sound. I mean, you would have thought that this place was banned for your own protection from falling into these crazy sinkholes, but no, the preservation of unique wildlife in these ecosystems is definitely the priority here.
We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Fort Knox, Kentucky. This is a heavily guarded government facility / army installation that people don't really know much about, but it's said that it stores a large portion of gold and other valuable items that the US government has in their possession. In fact, this place is famous for being one of the most heavily guarded areas and one of the most restricted places on Earth. It's protected by 30,000 soldiers, so no one has even dared to try and visit. Plus, it's said to have some of the most sophisticated safety features.
Poveglie Island, Italy. Poveglie is one of the scariest haunted islands in Europe. A series of mysterious activities were detected on the island, and that is probably the main reason why the island is closed for visitors today. The island was the place where victims of the plague were quarantined and infected dead bodies were disposed of. It is said the remains of over 100,000 souls are buried there, and let me just say, that is a lot. The island was later the site of a nursing home and psychiatric hospital. Now it's rumored that it had a mad doctor who carried out unconventional treatments on his patients here before eventually throwing himself from the church's bell tower or being pushed, whichever you believe. Due to this, the bell was later removed, but people from the surrounding islands claim to have heard it echoing in the night on multiple occasions. The hospital eventually closed and the island was abandoned in 1968. Number 9. Hellfire Club, Ireland. No, not the Hellfire Club you're thinking of. This has nothing to do with Stranger Things, unfortunately, and let me just throw in, Eddie deserved better. Anyway, the Hellfire in Dublin was built as a hunting lodge where Dublin elites used to gather in the 1700s. The ruins of the club are located on top of Montpelier Hill, overlooking the adjacent Massey Woods. There have been numerous stories about black masses, animals, and even human sacrifice rituals happening in the Hellfire Club, but that's not all. Multiple witnesses claim to have seen a satanic-like creature with a human appearance and cloven feet. So, literally, the devil. You mean the devil. Another common visitor is the ghost of a young lady who is believed to have been burned inside a barrel and rolled down the hill. Number 8. Pripyat, Ukraine. Pripyat is a small town in northern Ukraine that was the closest town to the notorious Chernobyl power plant. Once upon a time, Pripyat was a nice little town that was home to 50,000 people. However, after the Chernobyl disaster, everything changed. Needless to say, no one lives here today, and it's dangerous to visit even after all these years after the explosion. Now, there are many ghost stories surrounding Pripyat. One story is that one of the nuclear physicists was measuring the radiation readings when he heard someone screaming inside the plant. This event happened in 1997, 11 years after the explosion. He asked the employees about it, and they told him that he was the first one to enter the control room in 11 years, and that the only way to get in was through a thick metal door. Now, even if someone did come inside, they would inevitably trigger an alarm that goes off. Even more interestingly, later that evening, the employees saw a floodlight turning on in the installation room. They thought there may have been a power surge, but seconds later, the lights were turned off. Spooky. Number 7. Castle Rizal, Poland. This red structure looming over Rizal has had a horrifying dark past. The town was burnt down in the 1800s, and a woman named Barbara Zedunk was arrested for committing arson and was later accused of witchcraft. In the castle, she was tortured and taken advantage of on multiple occasions and eventually gave birth to 2 children. Many people claim that the ghost of Barbara and her children haunt the castle today, and rightfully so. A strange smell of perfume was reported in the castle on multiple occasions, doors that were previously locked were found open the next morning, and some people even claim that they were touched by a strange force in the castle. Number 6. Witch's Castle, Austria. Witch's Castle, also known as Musham Castle, has a gruesome history. Hundreds of people were imprisoned, tortured, and had their lives ended inside these walls during the witch hunts of 1675 and 1690. Those who did escape the hangings had their hands cut off, while others were branded by hot irons. Now, after the witch hunting was over, they went back to normal. But then came another issue: werewolves. In the 1800s, many cattle and deer were found dead near the castle. So these people jumped to the logical conclusion that this was being done by werewolves. This led to some residents being tried and executed in the castle's dungeons as the full moon culprits. Staff and visitors swear they have felt someone's breath on them, been touched, heard banging sounds, footsteps, and doors slamming, and there's also been rumors of people hearing the sounds of the witches screaming, and werewolves apparently still prowl the grounds.
You won't just be banned from landing here, you're not even allowed to fly over it. Located in the remote waters of the Indian Ocean, Diego Garcia is one of the most secretive and strategic military bases on Earth. It's jointly operated by the United States and the United Kingdom, and it plays a major role in global surveillance, intelligence gathering, and military logistics. But its dark history goes even deeper. In the 1960s and 70s, the island's native Chagosian people were forcibly removed from their homeland to make way for the base, and many were never allowed to return. Since then, Diego Garcia has been shrouded in secrecy. The airspace above it is completely restricted, the waters around it are patrolled, and any unauthorized access by sea or air is considered a serious breach of international security. There's an island in Hawaii you're probably not allowed to step foot on, even if you're American. Niihau, often called the Forbidden Island, has remained isolated from the outside world for more than 150 years. Privately owned by the Robinson family since 1864, the island is a living time capsule. With no paved roads, no internet, no shops, and no modern infrastructure, it preserves a version of Hawaiian life that barely exists anywhere else. Only native Hawaiians who live there, invited guests, and a few government officials are allowed entry. Even the US military, which briefly used the island for training during World War II, has long since backed off. Attempts to open the island to tourism have repeatedly failed, and to this day it remains a place that even most Hawaiians will never see. This museum had to rethink everything after the most daring jewel heist in modern history. Housed inside the Royal Palace of Dresden, Germany, the Green Vault was once considered the most secure museum in Europe. It held priceless treasures including 18th century royal jewels, diamond-encrusted swords, and gold figurines. But in 2019, the impossible happened. Thieves broke in, disabled part of the security system, and stole over $120 million worth of jewels in a matter of minutes, most of which have never been recovered. Since that day, access to the Green Vault has changed dramatically. Security has been tightened to an almost militarized level, and many of the most valuable artifacts are now either off display or stored in areas completely closed to the public. What was once a showcase of opulence is now one of the most heavily guarded and restricted cultural sites in Europe. This royal tomb holds ancient secrets, but no one is allowed to disturb them. King Munmu, the first emperor to unify the Korean peninsula, requested to be buried at sea when he died in 681 AD. His tomb is believed to lie beneath a rocky rocky islet just off the coast of South Korea. According to legend, his spirit would transform into a dragon and protect the country from invaders. The tomb is sacred, and for over 1,000 years, no one has been allowed to excavate or explore it. Modern technology could uncover what's beneath, but cultural respect and religious tradition keep the site untouched. It's not protected by fences or armed guards, but by something even stronger: an unspoken pact not to disturb the Emperor's eternal vigil. Some believe it's the most controversial burial site in the world. In the heart of Srinagar, India, the Rosabal Shrine is an unassuming stone structure that's become the center of a global mystery. Some researchers claim the tomb inside belongs to Jesus Christ, suggesting he survived the crucifixion and lived out the rest of his life in Kashmir. It's a theory that challenges everything we think we know, and it's one that many people, both religious and political, want buried. The Indian government has shut down access to the tomb, and the surrounding area is closely monitored. Even locals are discouraged from discussing its true identity. Whether it holds the remains of Christ or not, Rosabal remains one of the most politically and spiritually sensitive places on Earth. Even the people who live nearby rarely visit this haunted island. Rapa Iti, or Little Rapa, is a rugged volcanic island in French Polynesia, far removed from the world's usual travel routes. It's surrounded by sharp cliffs and unpredictable seas, making access extremely difficult. The island is covered in ancient stone fortresses and ruins, remnants of a once powerful society that vanished mysteriously. Local oral traditions tell of spirits that protected the land and punish outsiders who attempt to disturb it. While technically not illegal to visit, the island is spiritually taboo. Locals believe anyone who tries to explore the ruins without permission may suffer from illness, storms, or even vanish without explanation. It's less of a legal ban and more of a supernatural warning that no one really wants to test. Underneath a sleepy town in Normandy sits one of France's most closely guarded secrets. At first glance, Certainville looks like any quiet French coastal village, but beneath its surface lies a classified Cold War-era bunker that reportedly houses France's nuclear communication and emergency protocols. The Certainville Vault is rarely mentioned in public records, and its exact coordinates are unknown to most. Locals have reported heavy military traffic, strange antenna arrays, and secured compounds that are never explained. The government refuses to comment on its purpose. While there are no obvious barriers or signs, attempting to get close results in immediate confrontation with armed guards. It's a ghost facility, one whose presence is undeniable, but whose function remains completely hidden from public knowledge. Some parts of the desert are more than just sand, and this one is completely sealed off. Just outside the city of Ha'il in northern Saudi Arabia lies a vast stretch of desert that's officially restricted by the military. The area contains thousands of ancient rock carvings, some dating back over 10,000 years, as well as towering megaliths that hint at forgotten civilizations. But despite its cultural significance, the region is completely off limits to the public. Scholars believe the government may be hiding archaeological sites or possibly even modern facilities beneath the sands. Locals have shared stories of drones being shot down, cars being stopped at unmarked checkpoints, and mysterious lights appearing on the horizon. Whatever's out there, it's being kept under tight control. This is where America buried its radioactive shame, and it's leaking. During the Cold War, the US conducted 67 nuclear tests in the Marshall Islands, devastating both the land and the people. To contain the waste, the US military built the Runit Dome, a massive concrete cap over a crater left by a nuclear blast on Runit Island. Beneath the dome are tons of radioactive soil, debris, and weapon remnants. But here's the terrifying part. The dome is cracking. Rising sea levels and erosion have weakened the structure, and scientists now warn it could leak plutonium into the Pacific. The island is completely off limits, not just because of government policy, but because stepping foot on it could mean long-term radiation poisoning. It is a ticking time bomb sealed in concrete. Speaking of radiation poisoning, you can visit Chernobyl, but there's one part that's off limits, probably probably forever. While the Chernobyl exclusion zone in Ukraine has been opened to guided tours and researchers, Reactor 4, the exact site of the 1986 explosion, remains deeply restricted. The damaged core was initially encased in concrete, but over time it began to crack and leak radiation. In 2016, a new steel sarcophagus called the New Safe Confinement was slid over it, sealing off the most radioactive materials. Even scientists aren't allowed to enter without full hazmat suits, respirators, and special permissions. Radiation inside could still kill a person within minutes. For now, and possibly for centuries, Reactor 4 will remain sealed, quiet, and glowing with the consequences of mankind's biggest nuclear mistake.
The island of Dolls in Mexico. Despite its World Heritage Site status alongside Mexico City, Xochimilco has garnered a reputation for its Isla de las Muñecas, or the Island of the Dolls. Hidden amidst a labyrinth of canals, this place is famous for the countless dolls and doll parts that dangle from trees and lie scattered amongst the grass. It looks like something straight out of a horror film, but the truth behind this eerie display is even more unsettling. The island was once home to a man named Julian Santa Barea, who took up residence there. Barea's journey into the bizarre began after he found an unalived body in a nearby canal. Terrified by this tragic discovery, he started collecting dolls and displaying them around the island. He believed that these dolls had the power to ward off evil spirits and keep him safe. It's a creepy concept, to say the least. For the brave souls out there, you can hire a boat and attempt to convince the driver to take you to the island. From the safety of the water, you can observe the decaying house, the hanging dolls, and the unsettling atmosphere of the place. But let me tell you folks, this is one of those locations where it's probably best to admire from afar. The Island of Dolls is steeped in disturbing history that's best left unexplored. At number 9 is Kolmanskop, Namibia. A real-life ghost town has a story that might give you the chills. See, back in 1908, it was a bustling diamond mining hub, a place of extravagance and wealth. As fate would have it, richer diamond deposits were discovered south of Kolmanskop, leading to an instant exodus of this fair-weathered inhabitants. Today, this once thriving town is an eerie, sand-filled labyrinth of abandoned houses. It's not just an ordinary ghost town. Kolmanskop is famous for its appearances in movies like Dust Devil and The King is Alive. However, it's also renowned for its sinister aura. Those dilapidated structures are far from safe, with some on the brink of collapse. Add to the ever-shifting sands, which can easily trap the unsuspecting explorer. Yet the creepiness doesn't end there. Kolmanskop is a breeding ground for the paranormal stories and eerie occurrences. Many who've dared to enter these forsaken houses have reported strange and unsettling experiences. So while it might be tempting to explore the place, it's best to leave it off your bucket list and let Kolmanskop remain undisturbed in its eerie solitude. If you're enjoying the video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 is George's Church in Czech Republic. This is one of those abandoned places that should stay abandoned. Built back in 1352, this church has faced its fair share of troubles. Fires kept trying to claim it over the centuries, and things got even spookier in 1968 when the roof decided to collapse during a funeral service. The congregation thought it was haunted, and they wisely steered clear. But that didn't stop robbers and vandals from having a field day with it. Fast forward to 2012, and an art student decided to give the place a new lease on life by filling it with 30 ghost sculptures. Now it's known as the Ghost Church, and tourists from all around the world snap eerie photos and hang out with these lifeless specters. It's a creepy yet fascinating place, but remember, some abandoned spots should remain abandoned for good. Don't bother the ghosts. At number 7, Marco Island Dome Homes in Florida. These bizarre sci-fi-like structures are like something straight out of a Star Wars movie. Built back in 1981, they were meant to be a super cool, eco-friendly getaway for wealthy oil tycoons' family. But nature had other plans, and Florida's unforgiving weather and rising sea turned these homes into something out of a post-apocalyptic landscape. You won't find anyone living in these homes today, as it's highly unlikely anyone ever will. They stand as testament to man's ambition and nature's power. There are all kinds of theories and legends about why they exist, but the truth is, they're just a stark reminder that even the grandest human creations can be overtaken by the environment. So if you're thinking of exploring these dome houses, be cautious, and maybe leave the Jedi robes at home. At number 6 is the Buzludza Monument, nestled in the heart of Bulgaria. Imagine a place that looks like a UFO touchdown site. This bizarre structure was constructed towards the end of the Cold War and was intended to serve as the grandiose headquarters for the Bulgarian Communist Party. Decked out with posters of Lenin and Marx and a ceiling adorned with a glimmering red star, this place was no stranger to the strange events and political grandeur. But here's the twist. This intriguing monument was abandoned and sealed off from the public's prying eyes skies back in 1989. So while the temptation to explore this otherworldly dome is strong, it's vital to heed the keep out signs and respect the history this place holds, even if it means leaving your inner adventurer dormant.
Number 5. Dulce Base. Rumors of a top secret US military base in New Mexico have been swirling for years now. You'd think Dulce, New Mexico would be just another small southwest town in America, but think again. This town, which doesn't even have traffic lights, is known for the subterranean experimental facility below the ground of Dulce's Archuleta Mesa on the Colorado's New Mexico border near the town Dulce, New Mexico. Claims of alien activity there first arose from Albuquerque businessman Paul Benowitz. Starting in 1979, Paul became convinced that he was intercepting electronic communications from alien spacecraft and installations outside of Albuquerque. By the 1980s, he believed he had discovered a secret underground base near Dulce, populated by gray aliens and humans. In 1983, Paul's claims spread rapidly within the UFO community, and by 1987, ufologist John Lear claimed he had independent confirmations of the base's existence. Those who believe in the supposed underground alien base state that a 7-story compound exists beneath Dulce, which houses top secret, extremely advanced technologies, and even human-animal hybrids. Now, whether this is true or not, you cannot go to Dulce Base, but personally, I would love to get down to the bottom of it and find out if there are actually aliens there. Number 4. Granite Mountain Secret Vault. Granite Mountain Secret Vault is located in Salt Lake City in Utah. The Secret Vault is the world's largest compilation of genealogical records ever to exist. Now, if you're familiar with Mormons, you probably know that they're also renowned genealogists and have collected and cataloged documents and records on almost every family in the United States. The process all began with the efforts of LDS Church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who began their collection and needed an ultra-secure location for their fast-growing archive catalog. This led them to blasting a cavern into the side of a mountain known as Little Cottonwood Canyon, and now holds hundreds of thousands of genealogical records 700 feet beneath the earth. There's also maximum security to ensure these sensitive documents are never revealed to the public or curious tourists. So even if you want to learn about your own family, it seems like you're out of luck. Number 3. Area 51. Area 51 in Nevada is the common name of a highly classified United States Air Force USAF facility within Nevada Test and Training Range. Details of its operations are not made public, but the USAF says that it's an open training range and it's commonly thought to support the development and testing of experimental aircraft and weapon systems. The USAF and CIA acquired the site in 1955, primarily for flight testing the Lockheed U-2 aircraft. The intense secrecy surrounding the base has sparked many conspiracy theories. Now, it has never been declared a secret base, but all research and occurrences in Area 51 are top secret / sensitive compartment information. The CIA publicly acknowledged the base's existence on June 25, 2013, following a Freedom of Information Act request filed in 2005 and declassified documents detailing its history and purpose. The United States government has provided minimal information regarding Area 51. The area surrounding the lake is permanently off limits to both civilian and normal military air traffic, and security clearances are checked regularly. Cameras and weaponry are not allowed. What truly goes on there, no one knows, and no one ever will. Number 2. Fort Knox. Fort Knox is a United States Army installation in Kentucky. As the Army's Human Resource Center of Excellence, Fort Knox is now positioned to continue its central role in the front ranks of military installations in the United States, recruiting, training, and supporting warfighters in the challenges of the 21st century. The Human Resource Center of Excellence is responsible for all soldier career management, from swearing in to departing service. Its units include Sections Command, Human Resource Command, Army Recruiting Command, and Army Cadet Command. Fort Knox has a daytime population of over 26,000 soldiers, family members, and civilian employees. Units located on Fort Knox are considered partners in excellence and include active duty Army organizations, Army Reserve, National Guard, and the U.S. Marine Corps. This well-fortified military base is one place that's impossible to enter. It has defenses such as minefields, barbed wire, electric fences, armed guards, and cameras. It's only ever been opened once, back in 1974, and that was for the news media and Congress. And coming up at number 1 is Cheyenne Mountain Complex. Cheyenne Mountain Complex is located in Colorado, 9,565 feet above sea level. This massive mountain mountain is also home to the nation's most secure and fortified military installation and 15 building complexes which alert officials concerning anything to do with ongoing threats of attack. Formerly the Center for the United States Space Command and NORAD, the complex monitored the airspace of Canada and the United States for missiles, space systems, and foreign aircraft through its worldwide early warning system. For employees of the Cheyenne Mountain Complex, it's no ordinary work environment where you can simply walk into your office like a normal person. Oh no. Workers must take a bus to their designated zone, some of them even 2,000 feet below the ground. Nicknamed America's Fortress for a reason, the Cheyenne Mountain Complex is the ultimate bunker built into the pure granite of the mountain and can withstand just about any type of external threat.
In our number 10 spot, we have Gangkhar Puensum. This mountain has a long history of disputes on where exactly it is located, but for today's video, we'll call it on the border of Bhutan and China, which I believe is what has been settled on by researchers. This mountain is the largest mountain that has been unclimbed by humans and stands at a height of 7,570 meters or 24,836 feet. Studies and measurements of this mountain started almost 100 years ago in 1922, but it wasn't until much more recently that we began to acquire actually accurate details about it. The name of the mountain means White Peak of the Three Spiritual Brothers, which becomes an important part of why this mountain remains unclimbed. In 1983, the mountain became open for mountaineering, but between 1985 and 1986, there were 4 separate expeditions that tried to summit it and failed. Because of what we spoke about before and how there were disputes on the location and inaccurate information, the first group who tried to summit it couldn't even find the mountain at all. In 1994, the climbing of mountains in Bhutan higher than 6,000 meters became prohibited due to spiritual beliefs, and in 2003, mountaineering became prohibited entirely. This is why the mountain remains unsummited, and while I'm sure it would be an amazing expedition for climbers, I think the idea of it remaining untouched is actually quite nice. And who knows what is going on up there in terms of ecology due to it being left alone. In our number 9 spot today we have the Star Mountains. This massive mountain range is located in Papua New Guinea, and although we of course know about it, much of the area remains completely untouched by humans. This area is thought to be one of the wettest places on the earth as it sees more than 10,000 millimeters of rain every year. At that point you wonder why they're still measuring in millimeters, but hey, I'm not a weatherman. Due to the rain and just how torrential the downpour is, there isn't a spot in the entire range that can house a weather station. There was an attempt made to explore the range in 1959 by a man named Jan Sneap who wanted to try and map out the area, and it was slightly successful, but not without struggle. During the expedition they had 2 helicopters, but due to the altitudes one of them ended up crashing and they were forced to rely on their own manpower from then on. While this of course would suggest that humans have of course at some point visited the mountain range, as I previously mentioned, there are most definitely areas that remain unvisited by humans, and it's probably for the best if we leave it that way. In our number 8 spot today we have the Namib Desert. This desert stretches more than 1,200 miles and is located along the Atlantic coast of Angola, Namibia, and South Africa. This desert is recognized as one of the driest places in the entire world, so exactly the opposite of the Star Mountains we just discussed. Compared to that 10,000 millimeters of rain from before, this desert is said to only receive 2 millimeters of water per year, which seems like a much more reasonable time to measure in millimeters. It also means that there's certainly not a lot of living species in this area, but anything that does live in this desert needs to be able to survive on the smallest amount of water possible, so humans definitely aren't top of the list for that. Not only is this thought to be one of the oldest deserts in the world, but it is also thought to be the home to more endemic species than any other desert in the world. This means species that are found in that specific region and nowhere else on Earth. There are less barren and dry areas of the desert that are currently inhabited by smaller settlements and some indigenous groups, but most of the area is totally unlivable. In our number 7 spot today we have the center of the Earth. This should be one that's fairly straightforward, but if you're sitting there wondering why we've never been to the core of the Earth, I'm here to let you know. Basically, it's way too hot. But let's break it down even further than that. Basically, if you were trying to dig a hole to the core of the Earth, you'd start with the crust of the Earth, which is the thinnest of the 3 main layers, but humans haven't even gone through this entire layer yet, even in the deepest holes on Earth. Around 4,000 meters down, you'll pass the deepest mine on Earth, but that mine uses ice to keep its workers cool since it's about 60 degrees Celsius down there. At 12,260 meters, you'll get to the point of the deepest hole on Earth, the Kola Super Deep Borehole, and you'll be sitting in 180 degrees Celsius, but it won't be until you get to 40,000 meters that you'll get into the second main layer. The second layer is called the mantle and is responsible for 84% of the planet's volume. Here you'll be sitting at 1,000 degrees Celsius, which is about the temperature it feels on a humid day in Toronto, and you'll be drilling through rock. Just to cut to the chase a little bit, because we could sit here all day talking about the things you'll encounter on the journey, such as diamonds, by 3 million meters down you'll reach the third layer, which is the outer core. This will see temperatures that are similar to the surface of the sun. By 5 million meters you'll reach the core, and if you can just dig another 1.5 million meters, at 6.4 million you'll reach the center of the core of the Earth. There'd be no gravity here, and you'd need a super heat and super pressure proof submarine that can cut through some of the hardest materials and moves like a rocket in space in order to take on this journey. So once that's invented, we'll get right on that trip.
We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Twilight Zone reefs. Located in the Chagos Islands, these reefs are given their name due to the fact that they are part of the Twilight Zone in the ocean. But exploration of this area is limited because of how remote the islands are. On top of that, just recently they implemented a new rule where divers can only go down 25 meters. After that, it's restricted. So there's still so much to learn about this reef. And there's many more areas around there that haven't even been explored. In fact, in general, very few of the world's coral reefs have been studied deeper than 4 meters, so that's kind of interesting. Coming in at number 4, we have the deserts. Due to the extreme weather conditions, deserts are one of the world's least explored areas. I mean, it's really hard to survive out there for a long period of time. It's inhabitable. The days are extremely hot, nights extremely cold, and it gets very little rainfall. So it's hard to grow plants out there. So who really wants to be out there exploring? Anyways, we're gonna talk about the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert covers over 200 million square miles. Humans clearly haven't covered every inch of it. There are entire regions that have yet to be explored. Coming in at number 3, we have the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest holds half of the total rainforest on Earth. It's pretty insane. This thing is massive. It covers a total area of 2.5 million square miles, and it's home to beautiful animals and wildlife. But have it being that it's so big, there's tons of areas in the Amazon where humans have never been to. Maybe these areas contain new insects and species that are just waiting to be discovered. We truly don't know. It would take us years to cover all the grounds there. In fact, it is considered one of the least explored places on Earth. Isn't that just fascinating? Well, I mean, I think it is. One of the reasons this is the case is because not only is the forest filled with deadly animals, like, jaguars and anacondas and Brazilian wandering spiders, but also explorers would have a tough time getting access to enough food and clean drinking water. And not only that, the Amazon gets rain all year round, which can cause heavy flooding, which then can cause the water levels to rise and flood, and it makes transportation through the area way too dangerous and challenging. In our second spot, we have Antarctica. Antarctica is considered the coldest place on Earth's surface. It's also the driest, coldest, and windiest continent on Earth. How fun. Its harsh climate alone makes it one of the least explored places on Earth. Not only that, but this place is massive. So no wonder humans haven't been able to get to every region there. In fact, Antarctica is considered one of the last unexplored places on Earth, and one of Earth's last frontiers. Let me explain why. There is a world of buried lakes and rivers under Antarctica. Scientists are desperate to explore it, but it's impossible to, just lift up the giant ice sheets and see what's up underneath there. So nobody really knows what it looks like under there, or even what things are living down there. This discovery is now considered among the most important geographical discoveries of the second half of the 20th century. And And in our number one spot, we have the ocean. I mean, come on, this one is kind of obvious, but it's also very scary. It's said that 99% of the sea floor has yet to be discovered. Yeah, that means we have only explored 1%. Are you kidding me? Maybe that's where the aliens and mermaids are hiding, all the way down there. I mean, it took us a number of years before we could even reach the Challenger Deep, which is the deepest point in the ocean. It's gonna take us hundreds of more years before we can even explore half of the ocean. Now, this is due to a number of reasons. Number one, light can't reach all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. After 200 meters, the light begins to decline, so it would be super hard to see. Not only that, but the deeper you go, the worse the conditions get. I mean, the pressure down there is way too much for the human body to handle. Also, the temperature drops significantly the deeper you go down. So yeah, it's not the best conditions for exploration. In fact, it's easier to send a person to space than it is to send them down to the bottom of the ocean. That's insane.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have Mezgor. This is a location in Russia that finds its home in the Ural Mountains. This little town is top secret and is completely forbidden to any kind of visitor. This is said to be because the town is apparently home to Russia's nuclear missiles, and the rules are so strict that people aren't even allowed near the town or in its vicinity. There are also rumors that suggest this town contains Mount Yamantau, and that inside this mountain there is the Russian government's extensive bunker, making this just another reason why this town is completely cut off to anyone who isn't a very high-ranking official. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Lascaux Cave. This cave is located in France, and it got itself the title of being a UNESCO World Heritage Site after its discovery in 1940 due to the incredible prehistoric paintings that can be seen on the walls. Of course, this became a popular tourist destination, and people were jumping at the chance to see these works of art completed by the early humans, but as it turns out, breathing is not good for the art. The carbon monoxide that visitors were expelling was beginning to cause damage to these cave paintings, and of course, once they're gone, there's nothing we can do to get them back. This led to the site being closed to the public in 1963. Now, the only people allowed in are researchers and preservationists who work to make sure the art stays for as long as possible. In our number 8 spot today, we have Fort Knox. The Fort Knox vaults are home to most of the US gold reserves, and it's one of the most heavily guarded places on the entire planet. It's so heavily guarded, in fact, that there isn't one single person who can make it into the vault. This is because there are several combinations that need to be used, and no one knows all of them. There are various members of the staff who know just one of the necessary combinations, which means that without the help of their colleagues, and quite a few of them, there wouldn't be any way for them to gain access. In our number 7 spot today, we have the Vatican Secret Archives. This area is located within the Vatican, and it contains 53 miles of shelves that contain documents relating to the Catholic Church, some dating as far back as the 8th century. These archives contain things like a letter from Mary Queen of Scots when she addressed Pope Sixtus V, where she begged him to help save her from her fate. Some other documents in the archives include ones that detail and relate to the excommunication of Martin Luther. In 1881, these archives were opened only to researchers, but it's not exactly an easy task to get a pass. Anyone who applies and gains one will only have it for 3 months, however, and despite the massive size of the archives, no more than 60 scholars are allowed in at one time.
In our number 1 spot today, we have Heard Island. There's a big reason as to why Heard Island is off limits to humans. That's because Heard Island is said to be one of the most dangerous places on Earth. It's home to a 9,000 foot tall volcano, which has been active since at least the early 2000s. Not only does it spew lava, but massive glaciers also like to tumble down and can easily kill anything in its path. The wind speeds there average around 20 miles per hour. It has gotten to 200 kilometers per hour, which is considered Category 3 hurricane force. Not only that, but if you did want to go there, it would take you 2 weeks to get there from a boat from Australia. And then you'd be risking your life doing so with the bad sailing weather. So no one really likes to go there.
Then we have the unexplored caves. There are so many caves on this earth that we have not explored or found. First off, many of the caves we haven't found are hidden. Like maybe they don't even have an entrance to them. And if they do, how could we find it? Or if we do find a cave, most of the time there isn't just easy access to it. So it's hard to get inside and explore. In fact, back in 2018, a gigantic unexplored cave was found in Canada. It was said that this was the first time this cave has been seen by human eyes. Geoscientist Catherine Hickson said, and I quote, "It is huge. It is enormous. When you first see it, you just gasp because it's just this huge hole in the ground." This cave was first found in April of 2018 when a helicopter was flying over to Count Caribou. I swear, that's like the most Canadian thing I've ever heard. And then they spotted this mystery cave, which again, is massive. Now, some people have gone inside and explored it, but there's still so many different sections of the cave that no human has ever been to. In our 9th spot today, we have Pitcairn Island. This island is said to be one of the most unexplored islands out there. It is located in the Pacific Ocean and is part of the British Overseas Territory. In fact, no helicopter or plane has ever landed there. The only way to get there is by a 32-hour yacht ride. Yikes, that's just called seasickness. With that being said, this island does have some inhabitants. There are around 50 people living there, and there could be less by now. There's only a small amount of children. It's considered one of the least populated territories in the world. The British government has actually been trying to convince more and more people to move there. But I could see why some people would be hesitant, as, you know, you're thousands of miles away from civilization. I mean, if you need medical attention, you need to travel all the way to New Zealand. So if it's an emergency, you're kind of screwed. On top of that, there are also no jobs on the island. There's like one general store where you have to order your food supply 3 months in advance. It's crazy. Now, you might be thinking, Lindsay, why is this island on this list if you just said people live there? Well, there's plenty of places on the island that they leave alone and haven't explored yet. They live in a small village and hardly travel to the outskirts. In fact, the island is largely unmapped. In our 8th spot today, we have Mount Roraima. This mountain sits on the border of Venezuela, Brazil, and Guyana. In fact, it is the highest mountain of the Pacaraima chain in South America. Now, this mountain is deemed somewhat sacred. This is due to the belief that the mountain once hosted a tree that produced all the fruits and vegetables in the world. This belief is what limits people's access to it today. Now, in 1884, it was explored using one trail, which you can still access to this day, but you need to obtain permission, and it's very quite difficult to get. Aside from that trail, the rest is uncharted, and no human has seen what other beauty lies on this mountain. On top of that, the mountain is filled with steep slopes and treacherous conditions, so it's not the easiest place to explore. Coming in at number 7, we have Palmerston Island. Palmerston Island is another very isolated island with only a handful of people living there. There's a total of 62 residents, and they're all from the same bloodline. This island is so isolated that there are no shops, banks, or markets. In order to get supplies, a ship will bring deliveries. However, only a couple of times per year. Now, this island doesn't have a proper water filtration system. Instead, they live off drinking rainwater that they collect. For food, they live off of fish and coconuts, which can be found on the island. On top of it all, they only have 2 toilets, which are located on the main street. I mean, I can't imagine only having 2 toilets for 62 people. It's insane. Similar to Pitcairn Island, this island is largely unmapped. There are areas on it that humans have yet to see. Moving on at number 6, we have Surtsey Island. Surtsey Island is a volcanic island. It formed after a number of volcanic eruptions between 1963 to 1967. As a result, it is said to be one of the newest islands on the planet. However, it is off limits to the public. Only a select few are allowed on it, and those are researchers. These researchers are highly trained. Now, why is this island off limits? Well, they don't want humans interfering with the ecological state of the island. They want to keep it as natural as possible, which also restricts the areas that the researchers can go to on the island. In fact, all researchers must get government approval before they go there. And once they are on there, they have to follow strict protocol to avoid contaminating the area with seeds or chemicals. The only time they do go there is to do research, and then that's it.
Number 5. The Houska Castle, Czech Republic. The Houska Castle is located in a forest north of Prague and is one of the most haunted places in the world. According to the legend, on this exact spot, there was a huge hole in the ground which was considered to be the gateway to hell. Nice. Paranormal activities were disturbing the region, and the Bohemians thought they would solve their problems if they covered the hole, which honestly sounds like a good idea. That's why they built the castle. Now, no one actually wanted to build this castle and get close to this portal, so they used prisoners to help. Hundreds of prisoners were forced to go into the pit to build the foundation for the castle. However, when they were taken out of the hole, they looked like old men. Later on, this castle was the center of a German occult dabbling during World War II, and multiple dead bodies of German soldiers were found on the site. Witnesses reported several different forms of paranormal activities, and some even claimed that the site contains the remains of a demonic beast who escaped the pit. Yeah. No thank you. I'm good. Number 4. Dracula's Castle in Bran, Romania. Bran Castle is a castle in Romania that is a national monument and landmark in Transylvania. It's commonly known outside Transylvania as Dracula's Castle because it's the only castle in all of Transylvania that actually fits Bram Stoker's description of Dracula's castle, even though he never visited Romania. Many historians agree that Vlad III, Dracula, never set foot in Castle Bran, which was neither a friendly place for him to visit nor under his rule. Nonetheless, the castle is still creepy. The castle has 57 rooms and, of course, a secret passage. While being beautiful during the day, the castle takes on a whole other look at night. In the villages near Bran, there is a belief of the existence of evil spirits called ghosts or stigoi. Until half a century ago, it was believed that there existed certain living people who were leading normal life during the day, but during their sleep at midnight, their souls left their bodies and haunted the village, tormenting people in their sleep. So yeah, I'd stay away from this castle at midnight. Number 3. The Edinburgh Vaults, Scotland. The Edinburgh Vaults are a series of chambers formed in the 19 arches of the South Bridge in Edinburgh. They were a part of the South Bridge Act 1785 and was completed in 1788. For around 30 years, the vaults were used to house taverns, workshops for cobblers and other tradesmen, as well as storage space for said merchants. In later years, the vaults were a hotspot for the homeless and for criminal activity such as illegal gambling taverns, illegal whiskey distillery, and body snatchers stored corpses there overnight. In the late 19th century, the vaults were closed off, but opened again in 1988 when a local man crawled through a narrow passageway in one of his buildings and rediscovered the rooms underneath the bridge. Witnesses claim they can feel cold gusts of air, to hear voices, and see and sense an intangible presence. Now, some ghosts are bolder there, like Jack, who grabs visitors' hands in the wine vault. Another, more menacing presence is known as Mr. Boots, an unkept man so named for his tall boots. Now, Mr. Boots lurks in the back section of the vault and has been known to push and throw rocks at visitors. Some have claimed to hear his footsteps on the cobbles and his echoing voice cursing throughout the chambers. Number 2. The Old Vicarage, Sweden. Borgvattna is a small village in northern Sweden. It only has 50 residents, a church, and a vicarage. That old vicarage is extremely haunted, perhaps the most haunted place in Sweden. In 1930, the owner saw a lady dressed in grey at the house. She was walking slowly towards him through the big hall, but decided to take a turn into the expedition room, the office where the vicars used to work. He wanted to talk to her, ask her what she was doing inside his house, but when he got to the expedition room, there was no one there. A couple moved in 1936 and they heard footsteps walking through the house and doors were opening and closing as if someone was moving from one room to another. When they wanted to welcome the visitor, they saw nobody. The wife was home alone one day when she heard music coming from there behind a closed door. She opened the kitchen door and the music suddenly stopped. The same thing happened later when her husband was back home. Then in 1945, another man moved in and he brought a rocking chair. One night when he read a book in it, he was pushed off the chair so violently that he fell to the ground. When he tried again, it was as if he was blocked from it and he fell again. Then the rocking chair also started moving on its own. Now, each room has its own little story, with guests reporting seeing shadows, hearing furniture move, and much more. And coming in at number 1 is Dragslund Castle, Denmark. This 13th century castle was built by former bishop of Roskilde and has been leveled by invading Swedish armies and rebuilt several times. During the Reformation, the castle was seized by the Danish king, who laid claim to all church properties. The bishop was imprisoned in the castle and left to die. Guests claimed to hear hear moaning and wailing in the area of the castle's prison cells. Another lingering prisoner still haunts the grounds, the Earl of Bothwell, husband of Queen Mary of Scots. He was captured in Norway, imprisoned, and tortured to death in the castle. It's said that his spirit appears in the courtyard riding a horse-drawn carriage. Two female ghosts also haunt the castle, a lady in white and a lady in grey. The first is the ghost of a nobleman's daughter who fell in love with a castle worker. Her father forbade the relationship and ended her life for not obeying his demands. He chained her to a post in the castle cellar and built a brick wall around her. A skeleton was found when the castle was modernized, lending truth to the legend. The second ghost is an old woman who died after castle doctors removed an infected tooth. While it relieved her pain, the extraction was infected, causing her death.
Countdown, we have the Forest Lake, Russia. This one is very strange, okay? Located somewhere within a huge forest in Russia is this beautiful yet mysterious lake. Mysterious because the exact location remains unknown. Someone found it while doing aerial photography. They were up in the sky flying over this forest when they found this huge lake. Another reason why it's mysterious is because no one really knows how the lake was actually created. Like, it's smack in the middle of a dense forest. Over the years, a number of people have attempted to find this lake, but no one has successfully managed to. As a result, there's a number of websites out there dedicated to finding the lake. And a number of posts have been made from people asking if anyone knows anything about it. Will we ever find this mysterious lake? Who knows? Who knows? In our 9th spot, we have Yucatan cenote. But before I go any further, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button because it really helps us out. Located in southern Mexico, this place has tons of these natural pit type things called cenotes. Basically, it's a massive hole that forms after rocks underneath the ground break, and then it leaves a gap. This then exposes the groundwater that's underneath them. When the rock breaks down even more, water fills the hole, making it like a natural swimming pool. Now, they are quite beautiful, but they're also quite dangerous. Some of them you're allowed to swim in, but a bunch of them are off limits. Not only that, but some of them are hard to even get into, so people don't even bother. I mean, you'd have to be able to find a natural entrance, and then, like I said, it's still hard to enter. As a result, a number of these holes have never been touched, swam in, or explored. Coming in at number 8, we have Masherbrum, Pakistan. The Pakistan mountain Masherbrum is said to be the world's hardest alpine to climb. In fact, this mountain is said to be way harder to climb than Mount Everest. Now, there was a part that was climbed in 1960, but the north side of the mountain has not been successfully topped yet. This route is extremely dangerous and difficult. So over 75 years of attempts, only 15 people have successfully summited the mountain. Again, no one on the northeast face before. People have tried, but they don't get very far. Since no one has done it before, there's not a lot of info out there on the layout of it. And like I said before, it's very, very difficult to climb. In our 7th spot, we have Mount Sipple, Antarctica. Mount Sipple is a 10,203 foot tall, potentially active volcano located in the Antarctic. It was named after Paul A. Sipple, who was a navigator and the discoverer of this shield volcano. And it's never been climbed. As a result, it is the highest point on the Antarctic continent that has not been climbed. This is due to a number of reasons. One, not a lot of people know about this volcano because it's in such a remote location, and two, not much is known about the mountain. That's why I said potentially active volcano. I mean, people think it is an active volcano, but we still don't really know since people haven't really explored it. In our 6th spot, we have the Impossible Tepui. These gigantic towers of rock are often named the Impossible Tepui because they are incredibly difficult to climb. These are located all across Venezuela and are just super tall with sharp, jagged edges. Not only are most of them unexplored from the outside, but most of them are also unexplored from the inside as well. Hundreds of these rock towers are composed of caves and paths on the inside. According to scientists, only a fraction of those have been explored. The most we have done is flown drones over them to check them out from different angles, but physically, no human has been to a majority of them.
Number 4. Rikers Island, New York City, New York. Rikers Island is a 413-acre island in the East River between Queens and the Bronx that contains New York City's main jail complex. It's been there since 1932 and has gained a reputation for brutality and mistreatment. Rikers Island has a reputation for violence, both abuse and neglect of inmates, attracting increased press and judicial scrutiny that has resulted in numerous rulings against the New York City government and numerous by inmates on uniformed and civilian staff, often resulting in serious injuries. In May 2013, Rikers Island ranked as one of the 10 worst correctional facilities in the United States. It's also one of the world's largest correctional institutions and mental institutions that's operated by the New York City Department of Correction, which has a budget of $860 million a year. It has a staff of 9,000 officers and 1,500 civilians who manage 100,000 admissions per year. An average daily population is around 10,000 inmates. The likes of David Berkowitz, the serial killer known as Son of Sam, and Sex Pistols Sid Vicious were incarcerated on Rikers, and today it remains one of America's most notorious prisons. Number 3. Mount Weather, Bluemont, Virginia. If the world is ending, I want to go here. Mount Weather is a facility located in Bluemont, Virginia that is controlled by the Federal Emergency Management Agency. This facility is used to support emergency management operations and is located on a 434-acre site and is run by 240 employees. Mount Weather Emergency's Operations Center has important communication links with the White House and reportedly includes an underground bunker with its own hospital, crematorium, and emergency power plant. Today, Mount Weather is home to 6 major disaster operation facilities and remains off limits to civilians. It's considered the safest spot in the world. In the event of a nuclear war or zombie apocalypse, US government officials will be gathered and sent there. It was built during the Cold War, and this facility is designed to protect people and national treasures from an event of global destruction. Number 2. ADX Florence, Florence, Colorado. Could ADX Florence be America's most secure building? I think so. ADX Florence is an American federal prison in Fremont County near Florence, Colorado. It is operated by the Federal Bureau of Prisons, a division of the United States Department of Justice. It opened in 1994 and is classed as a supermax or control unit prison, referring to its extremely high levels of security, as it has a more controlled level of custody than maximum security prison. ADX Florence was commissioned when the Federal Bureau of Prisons needed a unit designed specifically for the secure housing of those prisoners more capable of extreme violence towards staff or other inmates. As of August 2022, there are a total of 341 inmates housed. They are confined 23 hours per day in single cells with facilities of poured reinforced concrete to deter self-harm, and they are under 24-hour supervision, which is carried out intensively with high staff-inmate ratios. Now, during their hour outside the cell, which can occur at any time, day or night, they are kept under restraint, handcuffed, shackled, or both. The hour outside the cell is for exercise and a phone call if they have earned the privilege. Their diet is restricted due to ensure that the food cannot be used to harm themselves or create unhygienic conditions in their cell. Some cells even have showers, which further reduces the amount of handling of inmates that correctional officers have to perform. In fact, this is such a secure facility that very few images of it exist. And coming in at number 1, Morgan Island, also known as Monkey Island, is located in Beaufort County, South Carolina. Historically, the island has been uninhabited due to its location and distance from the mainland. But in 1979, it was established as a home for a colony of free-ranging rhesus monkeys, hence the name Monkey Island. Originally, the monkey colony now located on Morgan Island was located at the Caribbean Primate Research Center in La Paraguera, Puerto Rico. According to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, there were incidents of the free-ranging monkeys escaping, carrying viral herpes B infections, which led to outbreaks in the local population. Puerto Rico was alarmed by this, and South Carolina stepped in to offer an inhabited island for research. In 1979 and 1980, over 1,400 animals were relocated to Morgan Island. The island is owned by the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, and the monkeys are owned by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. The monkeys are used used for public health research by the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Now, the risk they carry with having diseases is the reasons why it isn't safe for any human to come in contact with them. It's said that there are more than 3,500 monkeys and that it's such a safety issue that they are fed through an automated machine. Some humans have entered the island only if necessary, and after their visit to the island, they are quarantined to prevent spread of any diseases.
Off this countdown, we have Gakkel Ridge. The Gakkel Ridge is located in the Arctic Ocean between Greenland and Siberia. This ridge is said to be the deepest mid-ocean ridge in the world. The depths are said to go up to 3 miles, hence why it has hardly been explored. It's just way too deep for divers, especially if they're diving into the unknown. Who knows what's down there? Now, in 2003, scientists have found the first Arctic hydrothermal vents. These vents are said to contain species found nowhere else on the planet, but we haven't been able to explore them yet. I'm telling you, mermaids might be real. They're just hiding in deep areas in the sea that humans can't reach. In our 9th spot today, we have the Tonga Trench. And guys, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up because it really helps us out. So the second deepest place on Earth is said to be the Tonga Trench. This trench is located between the Pacific Plate and the Indo-Australian Plate in the South Pacific Ocean. And it's said to be over 10 kilometers deep at some points. Wow. But it could be way deeper than that. We just don't have the full ability to tell. Now, this trench is said to be home to a bunch of strange creatures. Also, during the Apollo 13 mission in 1970, they carried with them a radioisotope thermoelectric generator, which was supposed to remain on the moon. But that didn't happen, and instead, it survived re-entry into Earth and crashed into the Tonga Trench. It is now just chilling there and will remain radioactive for thousands of more years. Moving on to number 8, we have the Twilight Zone Reefs. Now, I talked about these in another video, but the Twilight Zone reefs are located in the Chagos Island. They are part of the Twilight Zone in the ocean, hence their name. But there are areas of this reef that haven't been explored. This is due to a number of reasons. 1, the island is very remote and hard to get to. Number 2, you're only allowed to dive 25 meters down. Yeah, the island has this rule in place for divers, and I'm not really sure why. But going further than that is restricted. Now, this isn't the only coral reef which remains pretty mysterious. In fact, very few of the world's coral reefs have been studied deeper than 4 meters down. So who knows what's truly out there? In our 7th spot, we have the underwater cave systems. In 2018, a bunch of explorers discovered a number of underwater caverns in the Mexican Yucatan Peninsula. They are now considered the world's largest underwater cave system. Not only that, but they have found ancient Mayan artifacts down there. It's incredible. They believe that the caves are around 215 miles long, but they could be even bigger than that. They also found a bunch of unknown plant and animal species down there as well. It's gonna take us several more years before they fully map out this entire cave system, as well as explore the full thing. It just scares me that there could be like these terrifying human-eating creatures out there and we don't even know it. Moving on to number 6, we have the unknown. Like I said, humans have barely explored any of the ocean. We truly don't know what's all the way down in the deepest depths. In fact, scientists think that when we do have the capability to explore the ocean more, we'll find even deeper points than the Mariana Trench. The ocean is just way too vast. It's gonna take us hundreds of more years before we even explore half of it. So basically, we don't know what places humans have never gone to because we haven't even found those places yet. There could be hundreds more underwater caverns and new species out there. Hey, maybe the Kraken or even the Loch Ness Monster is real. It's just hiding in the place we haven't explored yet. Just a little food for thought. Just think about it. Think about it.
In our number 6 spot today, we have the Sakha Republic. Russia is the largest country in the world, but there's an area in it which is the 8th largest territory in the world, and it remains mostly untouched by humans. This area is so large, it's only slightly smaller than India. The majority of this territory is above the Arctic Circle, making it basically like a desert except the freezing cold kind. There is so little of a population in this area that if all the residents were spread out, there would be more than a square mile in between each resident. But here's the thing. You can't really live in most of this region. I mean, you can, but not without extreme difficulty. The ground is covered by permafrost, which of course has a huge impact on the ecology of the region. There is a mountain range that is located within this region, and that range is known as the coldest area in the northern hemisphere, so that says a lot. Because of the extreme weather, much of this region has gone unexplored and untouched by man, and I honestly can completely understand why. In our number 5 spot today we have Mariana Trench. About 71% of the earth is covered in water, and yet the oceans are the places we know the least about, which is kind of terrifying. Mariana Trench is located in the western part of the Pacific Ocean, just east of the Philippines, and is the deepest part of our planet's oceans. The trench is in the shape of a crescent and is about 2,550 kilometers long and 69 kilometers wide. Its exact depth is unknown, but what we do know is that if we took Mount Everest and put it in the trench, its summit would still be underwater by more than 2 kilometers. So it's safe to say it's pretty deep. The pressure that deep in the ocean is far too great for humans to withstand, the temperature is just above freezing, and it is incredibly dark down there, which makes it a perfect recipe of a place that we should stay the heck away from. There has been a very small number of divers who explored what is called the Challenger Deep, which is the deepest known spot of the trench, but of course not without super heavy duty equipment, and no one has been able to stay there for an extended amount of time. So of course, like I just mentioned, there have been some people who have head down to some deep, dark parts of the trench, but most of it remains a mystery to all of us, and that includes what exactly lives down there. In our number 4 spot today we have the Kamchatka Peninsula. Russia has made it on this list again, but this one is the exact opposite of the last one we talked about. From a frozen desert, we are now talking about a volcano belt. This belt contains 160 different volcanoes, 29 of which are still active today. One active volcano is enough for me to stay away from, so 29 certainly sounds like a place everyone should stay away from. There have been a few people who have studied the region over the years, but certainly not many. Other than the high amounts of volcanic activity, which of course are an extreme danger to anyone even close to the area, because of thousands upon thousands of years of forming volcanic rock, the area only gets more difficult to explore as time goes on. This is what has led to this area being one of the least explored places we have on our beautiful Earth. But seriously, looking at pictures of how stunning this place looks makes me want to ignore everything I just said and travel there to see it in real life with my very own eyes. In our number 3 spot today we have Greenland. Okay, bear with me on this one because you're probably sitting there thinking I'm crazy for putting Greenland on this list, but I promise I'm not. Well, I think I'm not, and I'll let you be the judge. Of course I know Greenland is an inhabited country, and although Vikings landed there all the way back in 1000 CE, there are so many parts of the farthest northern regions that we simply just don't know much about. Like even as recently as 1999, there were only 6 newly discovered untouched islands just off the coast, and there is so much of the inland part of the country that remains uninhabited. Greenland is the largest island on Earth at an amazing 8 million square miles, but 80% of that is covered in ice, which makes it extremely difficult to traverse. Like in some parts, the ice is as thick as 3,200 meters, and it's been that way for about 400,000 to 800,000 years. There is a super low population on Greenland, considering the harsh conditions just don't really make it a super ideal place to live, travel, or explore. In our number 2 spot today we have Vale do Javari. This place is part of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil and is fully one of the most unexplored places in the entire world. Not only is it the home to some extremely deadly creatures, it also sees extremely heavy rainfall, which causes heavy flooding, and extreme currents in the river, which make it not only uninhabitable, but also difficult and dangerous to explore. Despite what I just mentioned, however, it is believed that one of our world's uncontacted tribes actually lives here. These people are able to live in this area and thrive without almost all of the things we use in our daily lives, and they remain uncontacted for a few reasons, but the main one being because we don't want to spread our diseases to them, which would likely wipe out their entire population, because that would be horrible and absolutely devastating, which we all know about very well. Because of this tribe of people and us not wanting to ruin their home, they're actually federally protected, and so is their land. There have been instances of no contact laws being broken by people like drug traffickers, but the government continues to protect these people and the land, and it will remain unexplored except by those who live there. It would be amazing to hear their stories, but I'm glad that we are doing what we can to protect them, because if they want to contact us, they know where we are. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Tsingy National Park. The Tsingy National Park is located on the western edge of Madagascar, but today I want to talk about the 2 large geographical features in the park, which are Big Tsingy and Little Tsingy. Tsingy can be translated into English as roughly where one cannot walk barefoot, and when you see it, you'll realize this name makes a lot of sense. These rock formations are plateaus that have had deep ruts cut into them by groundwater, which has left them totally unable to be walked on or through. This whole area is incredibly fascinating and is the home to many endemic species because of its unusual geomorphology. Many of these species are found only within extremely small areas within the Tsingies because the summit, slope, and base of one limestone needle will all form completely different ecosystems, which is absolutely unbelievable. The Tsingies are a perfect example of what happens when humans leave a place alone and let nature and the earth just exist. It would be an amazing place to go and explore, but because of the nature of the limestone needles, we just can't, and that truly is probably for the
At our 5th and halfway mark with the Mormon Church Vault. Located in Little Cottonwood Canyon outside of Salt Lake City is a vault owned by the Mormon Church. The vault is literally located 600 feet in the Granite Mountain, and it's filled with ancient archives, including family history records. It's said that it holds more than 3.5 billion images on microfilm and digital media. And obviously, they don't want anything to happen to their archives, so there's no public access to the vault. Not only that, but the doors are reinforced so that they're able to withstand a nuclear blast. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Devon Island. Devon Island is located off of Canada and is said to be a polar desert. That's the name that NASA gave it. It's also been named Mars on Earth. If you see photos, then you'll understand why. So this island is the largest uninhabited island in the world. Why is that? Well, mainly because of extreme temperature and weather conditions. It's got a harsh climate, very similar to the conditions on Mars. So basically, the ground is frozen for almost the full year. One part of the island is permanently covered by an ice cap that is 500 to 700 meters. In the summer, the temperature is about 8 degrees Celsius, so not warm at all. Whereas year-round, it's typically like negative 16 degrees Celsius. In other words, it's freezing cold. It's also devoid of any signs of life, so people don't really want to go there. The only people that have gone are some researchers for NASA. They use this place to test out space equipment and space suits. But besides that, this island is largely unexplored. In our 4th spot, we have Salween River. This river is considered one of Southeast Asia's longest rivers. It extends into China, Burma, and Thailand. Now, it's on this list because it's believed to have undiscovered parts in it. I mean, a river that long, come on, there has to be something there. Hopefully buried treasure or something, that'd be cool. But here's the thing, this river supports the livelihoods of over 10 million people. As a result, it is now highly polluted. In fact, it is among the 10 most polluted rivers in the world, which means researchers don't really want to go in and explore it that much. Also, only the last 90 kilometers of the river are navigable, which means it's hard for those trying to explore it. Moving on to number 3, we have Lake Vostok. Located in Antarctica, this lake is considered the world's largest subglacial lake. It is located under a 3.7K thick glacier and is said to be over 35 million years old. What's interesting is that this lake wasn't found until the early 60s. A Russian pilot was flying over when he spotted it. Then remote sensing techniques were used to map the area under the ice. But they say that it wasn't truly discovered until 1996, when they used ice-penetrating radar and artificial seismic waves. Now, rumor has it that the lake contains ancient bacteria and microorganisms. These species would be extremely rare because the lake was so isolated for years. Not only that, but these species have a set of unique genes, since they can live in the extreme cold, dark, and high pressure. Coming in at number 2, we have Northern Patagonia. Located in Chile, Northern Patagonia, this is said to be one of Chile's wildest landscapes. And I agree with that. On one end, you got ice fields. These ice fields are said to be one of the largest ice fields on Earth. The climate there is very harsh and it's difficult to explore. Then you have the complete opposite. They have rainforests with hot springs. This landscape makes it very difficult to explore. In fact, the rainforests and glaciers are so remote that they are virtually impossible to chart.
In fact, many say that that's a difficult and dangerous task to do. As a result, most of this place has gone unmapped and unexplored. And in our number 1 spot, we have Sandy Island. Located in the South Pacific, this island no longer exists. Back in the late 19th century, Sandy Island was noted on a number of maps and nautical charts. But when people went to go check out this island, they found nothing. So this island is in the South Pacific. It was located between Australia and New Caledonia, but it's no longer there. Now this could be for a number of reasons. Number 1, human error. Maybe they placed it wrong on the map and then over the years they just kept drawing it wrong and you get it. Or the island was there but got flooded over. Who knows? It's pretty crazy. I guess we'll never get to explore this mystery island.
And at number 10, the Elite Disney 33 Club in Anaheim, California. Disney might be open to the public, but this area of Disney is actually off limits and reserved only for the elite of the elite. In Disneyland, located in Anaheim, California, there is an area that was built by Walt Disney, but he unfortunately never got the chance to enjoy it due to his death before construction was finished. Now, the club was originally created as a place for him to entertain important guests. Now this area is still for important guests as the entry is invite only on top of a $100,000 fee and $30,000 in annual dues. For those of you who have been to Disneyland, which I have not by the way, you probably have walked through New Orleans Square, which is a replica of Louisiana's iconic city. Somewhere there though, you'll find Club 33, a members only destination. Now the invite only club has a wait list and I doubt that I'll ever get to go there, but it sounds really cool. Number 9. The Hollywood sign, Los Angeles, California. I think you all know what I'm talking about when I bring up the Hollywood sign. Now, you might be confused. It's a huge tourist attraction. Yes, it is. But there are areas around the sign that are prohibited. The closest you can get to the sign is behind and above the sign where you can enjoy the fabulous view of the city. The sign is on rough, steep terrain and there are barriers to prevent unauthorized access. In the year 2000, the Los Angeles Police Department installed a security system featuring motion detection and closed-circuited cameras. Any movement in the marked restricted areas triggers an alarm that notifies the police, therefore you cannot go and touch the sign. Access to other areas are restricted and the area is heavily surveilled as it's monitored 24/7 as mentioned before by the Los Angeles Police and Fire Departments and park rangers. Although some people have gone through security to vandalize the sign, I mean, does anyone remember Hollyweed on January 1st, 2017? Nope, just me? Okay. Well, it remains mostly prohibited. Number 8. Hart Island, Bronx, New York. Hart Island is located in the Bronx, New York and is a 1-mile long strip of land in the Long Island Sound that has served many functions over centuries. The island's first public use was as a training ground for the United States colored troops in 1864. Since then, Hart Island has been the location of a Union Civil War prison camp, a psychiatric institution, a tuberculosis sanatorium, a potter's field with mass burials, a homeless shelter, a boys reformatory, a jail, a drug rehabilitation center, and a cemetery. You can get to the island, but it is very difficult. Hart Island is only open one weekend each month for families to visit grave sites. Other members of the public must book an appointment months in advance, but it can even be rejected. Coming in at number 7 is New York Stock Exchange, New York City, New York. Thanks to movies including The Wolf of Wall Street and The Big Short, many of us has become fascinated by what goes on inside the New York Stock Exchange. I mean, I know I am. It's easily the most important landmark on Wall Street since the stock exchange practically created the financial district by marketing the neighborhood as an area of business. The main building was built in 1903 and it impressed everybody. This high-profile building was once open to visitors at one point, but it has been closed off to visitors since the September 11th attacks. The increased security now makes it impossible to get too close, but you can soak up all its glory from the outside. It sucks that you can't go inside anymore, but it's a valid reason and safety is important. Number 6. Robbins Island, Suffolk County, New York. Located just off Long Island, this private island is not only extremely valuable as it's impossible to access. The 435-acre teardrop of land belongs to billionaire businessman Louis Bacon and is thought to be worth around $500 million. He purchased it in 1993 at a bankruptcy court auction for only $11 million. He has made significant investments in restoring the neglected island, going so far as to import full-grown oak trees to replace the ones harvested for lumber years earlier. Some non-native grasses were removed from the island and replaced, and hunters reduced the overgrown deer population. The island has the healthiest turtle population in the state, which includes the eastern mud turtle. Louis has spent years rebuilding the ecosystem, and he believes allowing others on the island will lead to its destruction, so no one can visit. Number 5. The Knickerbocker Club, New York City, New York. If you happen to be among the world's elite, you might just be lucky enough to be invited inside this stunning Georgian mansion. If not, then this is as close as you'll get to the Knickerbocker Club or the Knick. Now, what is it? It's considered one of America's most exclusive societies. It was founded in 1871 by 18 former members of the Union Club who did not like the Union's club expansion of the membership. Among the Knickerbocker Club founders were such prestigious New Yorkers as Alexander Hamilton and John Jacob Astor. This club is considered one of the most aristocratic gentlemen's clubs in the world, and it only has one rule concerning giving out information about the club, and that is to never give any information out about the club ever. The men-only club is secretive. It doesn't even have a website. Their single Yelp review says, "Truly one of the finest private men's clubs in America. We had a lovely dinner with friends there. It is a reciprocal with the club I belong to. Highly recommend if you get an invitation." Now, the fact that members are forbidden to discussing the going-ons with anyone is interesting, but it seems like someone blabbed though, because if it truly was a secret, we wouldn't know about it, now would we? Anyway, it had many notable members, including Franklin D. Roosevelt and financier J.P. Morgan.
In our number 5 spot today, we have DMZ. Despite what this name says and implies, the Korean Demilitarized Zone is perhaps one of the most militarized places ever. This is the location that marks the separation between North and South Korea, and it was established to serve as a sort of buffer zone between the two countries. There are tons of military facilities in this zone, and only high-ranking officials are allowed in. This is exactly what led to the creation of the Civilian Control Line, which is a line that created an additional buffer zone to the demilitarized zone, which is meant to further restrict access to any civilians or unauthorized personnel. In our number 4 spot today, we have Surtsey Island. This island was born in 1963. By that, I mean it emerged from the sea in that year just off of the coast of Iceland after 4 years of being formed by an undersea volcano. A brand new island? What could we possibly do with that? While I'm sure humans could find 1,000,001 ways to ruin it, surprisingly we decided to not do that at all. Instead, this island was protected in order to allow scientists to study how new ecosystems form and what happens when there's no human involvement. This means that those who are permitted to go to the island have some super strict rules to adhere to, and it's not like just anyone is allowed to go. One of these rules is no seeds and no using the facilities on the island. The last rule is because one day when scientists found a tomato growing on the island, they were quite confused as to how. It turns out that somebody had gone number 2 not too long before, and thus a new poop tomato was grown from the ground. So let's slice of that for your BLT. In our number 3 spot today, we have Snake Island. This island is located in Brazil and is one of the most dangerous in the entire world, and that is because it is absolutely filled with snakes. It is thought that Snake Island came to be when the snakes got trapped as a result of the rising sea levels, which disconnected this island from the mainland. The reason people aren't allowed to visit is obviously to protect the humans who want to go, but also to protect the snakes that live here, as some of them aren't seen anywhere else in the world, likely because of the lack of human interference. There's a critically endangered species of snake called a golden lancehead, and on this island there are about 4,000 of them, which is critical to the species continuing on. As of now, only a select few researchers and the Brazilian Navy are permitted to go to the island. In our number 2 spot today, we have Zone Rouge. This area, also referred to as the Red Zone, is an area of France that is one of the most restricted on Earth. Located in northeastern France, it is said that this chain of uninhabited areas was completely destroyed after the events of the First World War. The area contains a mass amount of both human and animal remains, along with way too many unexploded weapons that have gone on to contaminate the surrounding water and land. This has led to the French government prohibiting any kind of activity activity in the areas that includes any sort of agriculture or settlement. I mean, I would not particularly want to risk it with the undetonated explosives, so it completely makes sense as to why this area would be restricted. In our number 1 spot today we have Pine Gap. This location is in Australia and it is a heavily guarded and top secret facility. It is said that Pine Gap is actually a joint defense facility between the Australian and the United States governments. It is said that it is operated by both the CIA and NSA and that it is strictly off limits to anyone not involved or given high security clearance. Apparently at first this place was said to be a space research center, but now it has become abundantly clear that it is actually used to support the United States in both intelligence as well as military activities. If someone decided to trespass into this top secret area, it would undoubtedly put them in a whole world of trouble.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the deep sea vents. So the ocean floor is covered in hydrothermal vents. They are formed when seawater circulates through hot volcanic rocks. The heat then circulates into the cold water and BAM! It creates these sea vents. There's more to it, but that's just the simplified version of it. Anyways, some of these vents are so hot that they can melt your flesh off with ease. So there's a bunch of areas where humans can't go unless they want to be roasted alive. The biggest plumes out there can reach up to 18 stories tall. So, damn. No one wants to go anywhere near them. Moving on to number 4, we have the Dragon's Triangle, otherwise known as the Pacific Bermuda Triangle. Now, this isn't to be confused with the main Bermuda Triangle. That's located in the Atlantic Ocean. But the Pacific has its own equivalent, which they call the Dragon's Triangle or the Devil's Sea or the Pacific Bermuda Triangle. So basically, this area is blamed for the disappearance of many different ships and military vessels. In fact, it's considered one of the most dangerous marine locations around the world. As a result, no human has ever dared to dive down there and see what's up. Now, in 1950, a team of researchers did go there to see what was going on, but apparently they vanished as well. Their bodies never found. So yeah, like I said, when stuff like that happens, no one wants to follow in their lead and go exploring. Over the years, a number of US and Japanese ships have gone missing in that area. One time, 9 American ships went missing in that area in perfect weather. To this day, they haven't been found, and we literally don't know what happened to them. Okay, so it's pretty freaky. What's going on there? In our 3rd spot today, we have Point Nemo. And no, it wasn't named after the movie Finding Nemo. I was disappointed when I learned that out. But anyways, this area is said to be the most remote oceanic location in the world. It's also considered one of the world's most hard to reach places. That's due to the fact that it's so isolated from other places. The nearest land is 2,688 kilometers from it. As a result, no one really goes there. I mean, why would they if it's so far away? But rumor has it that this place is a space junk cemetery. Since no one goes there, that's just kind of where they discard of old rockets and satellites and stuff. It's said that over 100 decommissioned spacecrafts are in that area. So if someone goes diving around there, is that what they're gonna find or what? No clue. We might never know. In our 2nd spot, we have the Challenger Deep. So at the very bottom of the Mariana Trench, there is a point called the Challenger Deep, which is the deepest point known on Earth. Now, there have been a very small number of divers that have gone or attempted to go there, but it's way too hard to stay down there for extended periods of time. Plus, they need very special diving equipment in order to do so. As with the other unexplored ocean places, we don't know much about what lives down there. But some of the fish and animals that have been found there are super creepy and weird, like the giant tube worm. They live near the hydrothermal vents and feed off of bacteria. These tube worms can grow to be over 8 feet tall. No, just no. And then the other creatures down there have evolved to survive in the high pressure, low light environment. So some can't even see because they don't need to, and others don't even have scales. Many are just translucent. It's pretty insane. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Mariana Trench. Obviously, I'm not talking about the band here, Mariana's Trench, but still, Josh Ramsay is incredible. Anyways, the Mariana Trench is located in the western part of the Pacific Ocean, and it is the deepest part of the ocean. It is said to be 2,550 kilometers long and 69 kilometers wide. The exact depth, though, is unknown because we haven't been able to get to the bottom of it. But apparently, if you take Mount Everest and put it in the trench,
its summit would still be underwater by more than 2 kilometers. So yeah, it's hella deep. Now, there's a number of reasons as to why humans haven't gone there. Number 1, light can't reach all the way down to the bottom of the ocean. After 200 meters, the light begins to decline. So it would be super hard to see down there. Not only that, but the deeper you go down, the worse the conditions get. I mean, the pressure down there is way too much for the human body to handle. Literally, it would crush a human to death. Also, the temperature drops significantly the deeper you go. So yeah, it's not the best conditions for exploration. In fact, it's easier to send a person to space than it is to send them down to the bottom of the ocean, which seems pretty unbelievable if you ask me. So yeah, we really don't know what's down there, and it's quite freaky. There's probably so many different species just waiting to be found.